Have you ever been diving and wish things could be more modular? They can just simply swap things out on the fly and fix problems under the water. If that's you, Tigershark has a solution, and it has a lot of promise. I'm Don, a cold water diver and underwater storyteller. I post weekly scuba diving videos to help you build skills, dive with more confidence, and explore the ocean with curiosity and care. The Tigershark modular underwater system. But let's take a step back. First of all, this is not a sponsored video. I'm not getting paid to have this video, but Tigershark did send me a review copy of a number of pieces from their kit to try and be able to make a review on, and also provide them feedback. This system, as of today, is not released yet. You cannot buy it, but they are releasing very soon, and I'm trying to time this video up with the release. So hopefully when this review goes live, you should be able to find a link in the description on where to buy it and how to buy it. And potentially, if you use that link, a small proceeds might go to support the channel. Of course, at the time I'm making this video, I can't guarantee it, but either way, if you're interested in buying, I will have a link there. But I'm here to just give you an idea of the options coming and what this little modular system can potentially do for your setup. So first of all, the system itself isn't like a tire kit, and you generally will buy pieces that you need for your kit. And by kit here, I'm talking about your diving camera rig and potentially other items too that we'll get into. But I think the biggest significance is underwater filming and photography. Now, working with Tigershark so far, I can say that they are avid scuba divers and trying to solve problems on being able to change things on the fly, which I definitely had those problems. And I really like the potential of the system. But when you buy them, you will buy different pieces for what you need. But they sent me a number of pieces to try out of the box. And so this review is based on a select number of those pieces, like the quick hook, the quick base GoPro mount system, which we'll get into shortly, quick base, the quick ball, quick arm, and they all have quick in front of them. But they're all modular pieces to snap together your system like Legos. And so I'll be honest, it's a fairly niche product, trying to make your rig more customizable and flexible underwater. But it's certainly a major upgrade over the traditional ball joint system, as you see here. Trying to undo one of these underwater and change ball joints is not fun. And so the idea of this system is to be able to swap on the fly via this system that snaps together, like the Legos. And the idea is that you can do this one-handed. So you can see here, you kind of push it in and rotate it together, and now it's on there fairly stably. Now I can move this around, and it works pretty well. Now, so there are some things that I'll talk to a little bit more in detail here. And the system's not perfect at this time, but I do think that it's going to get better, and I provided some feedback. I only expect that this system to expand over time and solve more problems. But the idea is very simple. This light is kind of heavy. It's not a magnet that's going to basically support the weight entirely, but it helps it kind of put in there, and from there you can kind of let it hang and start basically rotating this thing until you can't rotate anymore. And this basically snaps together. You should feel a nice satisfying click at the end of it, and it holds in there fairly well. And you can see here that there's a bunch of different pieces that you can buy and customize your rig depending on what you would want. So here's a longer arm to give this more extension, and with especially murky water, you kind of want this to be a little bit further out so that you can get from the side shot so you don't get the backscatter towards your camera. And depending on different lights and different setups, you can buy the pieces you need for your rig to customize it. Let's say I have this light here, but during the dive, I want to change it. I can basically unattach this point here, take it off, and I can then start attaching this point here, take that off, and what I can do is swap them on the fly. Now this does take two hands. I know that PL system is you can potentially do it in one hand, but I will say cold water diving. Big gloves on, thick gloves to keep your hands warm. This is a lot harder to do with cold water diving. And I'll definitely show footage of me, trying this over several iterations with someone filming me, of just basically taking together, putting something in a pouch, just like a realistic scenario. Like I'm pretending my video light broke, and so I'm getting a spare video light and putting it on the fly. And that's a pretty neat idea. And so here you can see that I've now swapped these basically in place, and I can start using this rig immediately, and I can move things around. But aside from being a little harder to use with dry gloves on, there are some small caveats. Like for one, I noticed that when I'm trying to, configure my ball joint here or move it around, if you move things to the left just a little bit, what happens is this part starts unscrewing a little bit. And you can, and okay, so that's just because I didn't click into place. Actually, so once you have to make sure you click it fully into place, otherwise it will start unscrewing. But I did see here now it's actually working just fine. So okay, so I just didn't screw it in all. Anyways, just a note on observation of how it behaves. But for the most part, I was able to snap it and change things on the fly, and it's been a very helpful addition to my rig. Now, one thing I would love, and it's not quite there yet, is the ability to basically detach one of these, especially if I'm using multiple lights, and be able to attach a little quick hook. This is the quick hook, or the quick hook system. Attach this thing on there and be able to give this to a buddy. And so now they can clip this. I don't need to worry about them losing it. They can kind of clip this on, clip this off. And importantly, if you're a videographer and photographer, how nice is it to bring an extra light? I really need this shot. There's a beautiful octopus in front of me. I can detach this thing, give this to my buddy to help light from the side, and then they can clip it off if they need to, or they can hand this back to me, and maybe I clip it off when they hand it back to me. No problem. I'm already going with my rig that's configured for what I need. And then, maybe sometime later, I want this dive light again, and so I can just unclip it and get ready to reattach it to my camera system. And you just have to make sure it fully clicks into place, and then it holds stable, like so. So this quick hook system has some benefits, and you can really see that magnetic snap on this one especially. Bam! This hook has some benefits for being able to clip things off. I did give them the feedback, and I believe that they're going to make this change. So if you're interested in it, you might want to wait for that change, but this hook is a little too small right now. And so I think it could be a lot bigger, especially for cold water dives. I mean, this is probably a little bit small for even warm water, to be honest. It definitely could be a lot bigger. But aside from that, I see the potential in this quick hook, and I think it really buys a lot of options. I can even imagine putting a backup light somewhere where it's dangling and being able to not even worry about the clip. You can just basically unattach this and start using your backup light. When you're done, you just reach back and let that snap together, reattach it, and your backup light is fixed somewhere where you don't need to see it with your eyes. This would be fairly easy to operate even without visibility. So I like this quick hook. I just need to have a bigger hook. Okay, let's talk about one piece that I can't honestly recommend of the Tigershark system at this time, but I did give them the feedback and they are going to fix it. And this is the GoPro mount. I was trying to test every single piece. And so this particular piece, after a few dives, ripped off on me because it had some adhesive here. It wasn't a full metal piece. This is quite a bit different from other pieces. This is all metal, so it's a good sturdy build, but this one, for some reason or another, wasn't. I think it was a prototype, really. So after they said that after I gave this feedback, they did say that they're going to machine an entire piece. And so if that's true, I don't think it's gonna be so easy to snap. It's the only reason it snapped off is because it was carrying kind of a heavy light on it. I was using the GoPro mount to basically carry a light is what I was doing. And that light was a little too heavy, and I think the salt water kind of ruined the adhesive just all across a few dives, and it fell apart. I almost lost my dive light, which was a big bummer, but I found it in the end, so all is well. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, now is a great time to like and subscribe. If you find this information valuable, share it with others. And if you're interested in being up to date with the latest and greatest of scuba diving industry, including new gear, I have a free monthly newsletter that you can sign up for in the description below. I'll see you there. So my main goal with across at least 10 dives was to really kind of get an idea of how to use the system, how I can use it to configure my own rig, and also just experiment how hard it is to do things, get another person to film me, take it apart, put it back together, really show if it's possible to do one-handed in cold water gloves. And it was. I was able to do it with a little bit of struggle with cold water gloves especially. I think warm water, no problem. And it's really neat to be able to reconfigure this thing on the fly. And so I could see the system being pretty nice for backup stuff that you need to detach easily, being able to hand a video light to someone to get a better angle on the lighting, and then be able to put it back on. Or maybe have different lights for different needs, and have a bag somewhere that you can pull them out and swap lights based on demand. There is some appeal to having a modular system and being able to change things out without having to deal with too much pain. And it's a new system, so I imagine it's only going to improve over time. Aside from the GoPro mount, most of the stuff is good quality. Across all the dives, I've definitely put it through the ringer. I'm never very careful with my stuff. I don't baby things. I try to put it across real world diving scenarios. And you can definitely see some scuffs, some marks. Obviously, I broke this one. But all this stuff is machined very sturdy. And once you have it snapped in there, it holds on pretty well. Just take note, if you find that it's unscrewing, it's probably because it wasn't screwed in all the way. So there's some learning curve. But once you get it in there, it does work pretty well. And of course, depending on your camera rig, there's a bunch of different mounting options for you. So the question would be, over time, does the salt water degrade the performance? Now, it is a nice aluminum finish with some steel bolts, and obviously you have some steel ball joints there. But for the most part, it does look like it's machined well. With some wear and tear, I imagine it might salt over time. Maybe these ball joints start wearing out over time. But I imagine this could last for quite some time. And by the ball joints, I mean the little things that give you that pneumatic sensation when you fully put this thing on there. It's really hard to feel it in cold water gloves, but you can definitely feel it when you're doing without gloves on. That as you're twisting, you feel kind of a satisfying snap when you get it in there all the way. You can kind of hear it. But when you hear that satisfying snap, it's in there. And you can hear it. I'm going to have this closer to the microphone. Something like that. So at the end of the day, who is the Tigershark modular system for? Aside from the remarks I made in this video, I had a good experience with this system. And so for camera enthusiasts like myself, folk with the big rigs, you probably understand the pain point of needing to modify stuff on the fly. And potentially divers who have need of being able to change things in and out and swap them out, like backup lights and such. I can see there's some appeal to these pieces there as well. It is a bit niche, but with that said, for those who need it, I think it can provide some nice benefits. I plan to continue to dive with this modular system in the future in general, as it only buys me options. But what do you think about this system? Is there anything that you've been looking for your camera rig that you're hoping that is a problem to be solved? Let me know in the comments below. If you're looking for other gear reviews, you can check out this series over here, or YouTube thinks you might like this video over here. The more you know, the more you'll love and protect the ocean. Until next time.